Mountain God needs no donations, only worship please. Chapter 35. Fan fiction by Azazyel. Please subscribe to this YouTube channel for listening and patreon.com/Azazyel to read all of his stories. Even with infinite power, even with the range of my influence spreading rapidly to the edge of Gensokyo's edges due to all living sentient beings worshipping me in some manner or another as I kept Gensokyo from falling apart, that didn't change the bone-deep mental exhaustion I felt from preventing the total annihilating energies of the dimensional gap from breaking down the large landmass that was Gensokyo, to say nothing of how I was protecting everyone and everything upon the landmass as well as keeping old hell attached to Gensokyo as well. Jake, we are making landfall back on Earth. Tenma dutifully told me, and I nodded with my eyes closed as Sakuya kept vigil over me to make sure even as I focused upon keeping Gensokyo together no one else could approach me, as already some of the insane hero faction members that were left behind by Chow Chow were slaughtered by the pissed yokai. And the one mage with some king of teleporting sacred gear got a dagger thrown into his head by the maid when he teleported past my waning wards due to my full focus being elsewhere. Tell the leaders of all of Gensokyo's groups to come here, I ordered, Tenma grimacing as I felt a powerful wave of ethereal energy smash into Gensokyo. Truly only beings in the ultimate class could survive in the dimensional gap, because to be within the area was to be totally enveloped in what amounted to being a magical antimatter that would just naturally annihilate itself upon making contact with any normal matter, whether it be magic or normal matter. I don't know how much they know of the modern world, but they need to know how to react. If the other factions on Earth don't just come in swinging, as I doubt our entry upon the Earth is going to be a quiet one. I finished Riley, and Tenma nodded gravely as she teleported out, moving faster than the wind, using her magic to speed across the little groups of people that were dotting my forest-covered mountain. So I suppose this would be a bad time to seek counsel about my prior mistress's state of being and their request. Sakuya said jokingly, and I rolled my eyes. If you can send a message to them for them to return, I don't mind changing their bodies to a more mature one before we land, honestly, I said, truly wanting some good news in my day right now. Though I was curious, as Gensokyo had been moving towards Earth for the last 10 minutes, where the hell was Yukari when I knew she could just reverse the gap between any injuries she had and being fixed instantly or whatever. Instantly Sakuya teleported. No time skipped away, but I was spread so thinly across all of Gensokyo from the abrupt deluge of worship that my consciousness hadn't had time to fill the metaphorical gaps between the lands, so my power wasn't as concentrated as before. But in another 30-odd seconds, Sakuya teleported back with her hands on the shoulders of her mistresses Remilia and Flandra Scarlet. "Hello ladies, are you ready for your older bodies?" I asked, smiling to Flandra, and she nodded gleefully. "Yup, I am ready to be a big girl now. I mean, I am a lot older than 100, so I should already be a big girl anyway," Flandra said excitedly, but then drew off and shrugged, so I looked to her older sister Remilia. "Yes Jake, I have been ready since I offered you my prize in that shard of the Bifrost. But we have a request. I wish to be a more mature full woman, and my sister has agreed to take on a more late teenage form so her hormones have time to catch and allow her to understand them." Remilia asked, and I agreed, as it just gave me more of a picture to go with. "Alright, so I am going to change you now," I said, focusing a bit on Remilia taking in her prepubescent form and then using my power to pull at the curse that stopped her aging and body's growth. Remilia groaned as her body popped and cracked as I used my power to help her body naturally grow so she looked exactly as she should as a woman in her late to mid-20s, and I even made sure her clothes grew alongside her so she wouldn't burst out of them as she fully grew up and outwards. "Sister, you got bigger boobies like Hom Myling," Flandra said, bluntly poking her sister in the boob and making her hold her breasts defensively, and out of the corner of my eye I saw how Sakuya looked down at her chest that was covered up in her maid outfit and muttered about her mistress being bigger, with the white-haired maid pouting as Flandra bounced over towards me. "Alright, my turn. I want big old milkers bigger than Ran and that ghost princess that can eat a whole rice paddy's harvest," Flandra demanded, and even I, an immortal all-powerful being within my domain, choked at the words that came out of the girl's mouth. "Flandra, where did you learn those words?" Remilia strongly demanded, asking exactly what I wanted to know. "Oh, I heard all those words from Patchy's devil Kawakuma. That milk comes from Dash." My eyes literally glazed over as Flandra began explaining how a woman's breasts were apparently milkers, and, yeah, allowing an immortal devil to entertain the girl was a terrible idea. "Flandra," I said loudly, ending the conversation as I took a breath to return my soul to my body due to the heresy that was coming out of the girl's mouth. "Calm down and watch your body's changes," I said as I did the same and turned on the young vampire hormones, but this time instead of just dulling the feelings of her body's growth, I just shut off all pain in Flandra, as I didn't want her throwing a fit because she didn't like the feeling of her rib cage reforming to support her womanly features. "It's that damned Bale genes," I heard Flandra almost snarl and her words flew over my head for the moment as I literally put a hand over my eyes as Flandra, even as only a late teenager, eclipsed her older sister in bodily proportions. Remilia was a good large C cup, but it seems that Flandra's body was slated to hit every branch when falling out of the DXD hentai titty logic tree, with her chest growing out to be a very respectful E cup. I had literally nothing to do with this. I said drily. I only removed the limits your vampiric bloodline put on your bodies and supplied your bodies with the perfect amount of nutrients for you to hit your biological peak. I spoke dully as the ditzy Flandry literally decided that hopping in place and making those massive milkers bounce comically on her chest was the funniest thing in the fucking world. I believe you, Moria, but HAA. Remilia groaned as she stared at her ditzy sister, and she realized she was going to have to tutor her sister on propriety. I know this is rude, but Remilia, I ask that you hold the northern end of Gensokyo with your sister, as I know people will be invading, so I ask that you just slow them down to get my attention, I said more seriously, and Remilia grimaced before nodding in understanding. I cast my consciousness outwards and I saw how Tenma was leading the other faction leaders of Gensokyo here to my cathedral, so I spoke again. Either way, it's best for you to stay here so I can vouch for your changes, I said as I watched Tenma leading the Moria goddesses, the small blue-haired girl that was the leader of Gensokyo's Kappas, a literal flying nuke in the shape of a bird named Atsuho Ryuji, and her mistress in the Kameji sisters. And that was just the people Tenma rounded up within a couple of minutes, as we still had at least another 10 or 15 more minutes left till we made contact with the Earth, so we technically still had plenty of time for this meeting to take place as Tenma left that group of people to enter my cathedral as she went to go round up more of the leaders of Gensokyo's little factions.